Paul Tinker, how are you, my love?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Yeah, all good, all good. So, I'm going to get you to do a little introduction about yourself because our audience will have no freaking clue who you are, and I want them to get to know you because I think you are fucking awesome. So, crack on, my love. Who are you? What are you doing?
Thank you. And how long is that? How long is that?
How
How
long's
far
what?
back do you want me to go?
Oh, how long is that? That's a very good question. I want you to kind of like set the scene so that people know a bit about you as a person because I love this story about you. I think that you have just got so much to give to everybody, and I personally have learned so much from you over the years. So yeah, kind of take us back and then summarize like the last couple of years, I suppose.
Yeah. So whenever everybody asks me that, I always don't know where to start, and I often go with when I left school because I guess that's the turning point of everyone's life when we're in business is how we came to learn, how we came to be comes from, um, like what we was going to do when we left school. So I was going to be a criminal lawyer when I left school. So I went to study A levels at college, where I chose to get my criminal law degree. I had to do three A levels. That was the caveat to joining. And I didn't really like school. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, so it was like, what subjects can I do that I'm going to enjoy? That will get me these ticks in the boxes that I need to do a degree. So I chose computer studies because I liked computer games at the time. I chose human biology because I fancied the teacher, and I chose PE because I liked sport at the time. And I got 9 months into all of them, and I absolutely hated it, so I left and went to become a car mechanic. The old YTS scheme, 35 quid a week, and that makes me sound really old. I know. I started that 35 quid a week, and then sort of 9 months, 8 to 9 months later of doing this car mechanics apprenticeship, I'd managed to accumulate 14 points on my driving license through speeding. I kept lending me fast cars, which was really smart to lend like an 18-year-old. Here's a sports car, go take it for a test drive. Yeah, nice one. That's always going to end one way in it. And then I started seeing this girl at the time called Claire, who he was joining the army, and I thought, fuck it, I'll do that. So I joined the army because this girl was. And that's how I found myself in the forces. And then when she joined, I joined at the same time, and I ended up on the same barracks as her, which was really strange because I was in an all-male corps. She was in the Royal Signals. I joined the Royal Engineers. And as we joined and both attended ATR Basingbourne, which is not far from where you are now, actually, it's halfway between Cambridge and Peterborough in a place called Royston. And Full Metal Jacket was filmed there, actually. And I turned up and I got caught on the first night in the army. I got caught in a room and got
Oh
thrown in
god.
jail.
Of course you did.
When my first night in the forces was in prison, which is bizarre. Then I ended up serving 14 years, where I learned to train I trained as a bricklayer in the army, which is how I sort of ended up in the construction industry. Ultimately, I left the forces in 2000 and sort of started leaving in 2006. Went into close protection down in that London with movie stars and on bars on the river in West End. Did that for a couple of years, and then I decided I'm going to go into the construction industry full time. So I left the forces. Marriage broke down at the time. Left the army in 2008 full time to go into corporate construction management, which was kind of the step up from where I was in the forces. And I got this job just because the guy that interviewed me liked soldiers. Like, my CV was shit. I just left the army. I'd come for tools, and he employed me to be a project manager in charge of £7 million worth of work. I didn't really know what I was doing to start with, and I kind of just found my way and ended up helping to systemize that business. And in doing so, I got transferred to another site that this business ran and owned 40 miles away, and I ended up running that site too. But this was a really sort of stressful time, and coming from the forces and transitioning into civilian life was really, really tough. And in moving sites and moving towns all the time and not really settling, I was jumping from woman to woman and house to house and site to site, and it was a really, really stressful, hard time. And I ended up working for a business in the West Midlands that had a national contract with local authorities. And I was delivering their construction projects up and down the UK. And in most weeks, I was on like 10 planes a week, just flying around from site to site. That's how busy it was and how vast my projects under management were covering geographically. So at one point, I had one site in Wick, which is, you can't get any further north than that in Scotland. And I had one site in Cardiff and one in Ipswich, all at the same time. So to get around them sites was really, really tough, and flying was the only way I could do it. So, like coming from the forces where drinking booze is a very big part of the culture, and then coming into the construction industry where it's also a big part of the culture, and then going into a stressful job within that industry with that background, it just became the norm. Um, so that quickly led to like serious dependency on booze. And that was like for 4 or 5 years. I was in for 5 pints of strong beer, bottle of red wine, and half a bottle of Jack Daniels on a daily basis, and then driving to work the next morning. So and I didn't realize that this was actually an issue or a problem at the time until one day you wake up and you go, shouldn't really be doing this. And there was no trigger or anything. And a lot of people ask me that question. Like, what was it that made the decision? What was it that drove you to make the decision to stop boozing? And there wasn't one. You were just, you just have that realization, that epiphany where you go, this is fucking no good. So put the booze down and I quit on 22nd of September 2018. So I'm 6.5, almost 6.5 years dry now. And at that moment was when I decided I was going to set up my own business and left corporate construction and set up my own construction company. And when I did that, I wanted, my skill set was working with corporate clients in a disciplined and structured way. That was my background from corporate and my background from the military. So when I went into this, my own business, I just don't know any other world other than that. Like for me, everything was structure, everything was discipline, everything had a process. And then you go into your own business up and you find out that that's actually not the reality of the world. And Mrs. Miggins wants to pay you in cash, and she wants to, dodge this and dodge that and put this corner and put that corner. And that was an alien world to me at the time. And I'm thinking, like, I can't work in this space. I'm not doing this. So I went back to some of my old clients from where I worked in corporates, which were all local authorities or, corporate organizations. So I went back to these people and said, look, I've got my own construction business now. My overheads are lower. I'm going to be cheaper than the construction businesses you're using right now. Give me a chance to, pitch my service to you and deliver your project. And they said, Paul, we can't touch you until you've done 2 years worth of book. So I was like screwed now. So I had to find a space where we had a corporate client per se, someone that would be delivering a project in a structured way that valued my service and my skill set, but at the same time didn't care that I'd not been trading for 2 years, because I've just been set up. So this is how I found the world of property investing. So I went along to a couple of networking events and met these property investors that I deemed to be professional at the time. And I got into these events and I'm thinking, this is it. I found my space. Like, and I've gone into this networking event. The first one I went to was a PIN event. If you don't know what that is, that's it's Simon Zushi's his network. What does it stand for? Property Investors Network, I think it is. And I went into this room and everybody were introducing themselves in this room. And I'm quite introverted, believe it or not. And I was dreading the hand coming to me. I like to introduce myself. And I started like reversing into the corner of the room so no one would ask me who I was. And as it went round, there were these people. Oh, I'm John. I'm looking for a builder. I'm Steve. I'm looking for a builder. I'm Bob. I'm looking for a builder. And it was like, holy shit, this is a fucking goldmine. Like everybody in this room needs me. So of course, on the break, I'm going over to them and like, I'd love to work with you. Like, what projects you got on, and like, let's do some work together. And it was in that moment that I thought, like, this is it. This is going to be the space I find myself in. The trajectory from here is going to be insane. I'm going to have so much work. I ain't going to know what to do with it. And then, like, it went from that meeting into a site meeting where I went to look at their properties. And I've gone along to the property, and the first one that I went to, I'm expecting to walk in and find a program of works on the wall, like a big compliance setup. I'm expecting to find a full set of drawings and a specification and, high visors and hard hats. This guy rocks up to a half a building site. There's no doors or windows in it, and he had flip flops on. I thought, it's a bit fucking weird. Like, mate, like, what's the crack with this job? Oh, my builder left me, which is why I need you. I said, well, how did that? What went wrong? He said, oh, he tried to rip me off. I said, all right, okay. Well, it's a common story, but what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean he tried to rip you off? Well, he started pulling out the kitchen and he pulled out the bathroom and he started putting the prices up. And I'm thinking, well, like, why did the price go up? So you start asking questions and you quickly realize, actually, this guy's not been running this professionally at all. So I just put it down to a one-off that this guy was he was a one-off and the other clients would be better. Anyway, I didn't move forward with this guy anyway. And then I moved on to the next guy that I'd met at the event and we went to view his property and it was pretty much the same story. Like unprofessional setup. And I'm thinking, this space can't be like this. And I think I went to view 10, it might have been 11 projects from people that I met at that event and they were all the same. And I thought, this is no good. So from here, I went to Turkey. I did the odd job for other people along the way, but they weren't full projects, which is what I was looking for. And then I went to Turkey with the wife in 2000 in the summer of 2019, and I was telling her these stories, and she must have been sort of pig sick of me moaning about it, because that's exactly what she said. Like, you need to shut up moaning or do something about it. Like, either go and find some different clients or stop moaning, or you're going to show them how to do it. Because I'm not showing them how to do it. That's their job. They can fucking sort that out themselves. That's not my job to do that. Now, when I was in the forces, I was a training instructor. Used to train recruits to become soldiers as a section commander. So teaching was kind of my skill set, one of my skill sets. So she almost challenged me to start a training business out the back of my frustration. So from Turkey, we booked a hotel in Hull. It was. She said, book a hotel in Hull. We'll do some marketing on Facebook, and we'll see how many property investors come to this event. So we put on an event at South Cave Castle in Hull. We booked the room. I think it was 240 quid or something for this room. And I'm thinking, these fuckers better turn up. 240 quid I've paid. The people better turn up. So I did one post on Facebook, and 30 odd people came to this event. I had nothing. I had no slides, I had nothing, no presentation or anything. And I stood in this event like a bit overwhelmed and shell shocked that people had come, because I almost subconsciously wanted it to fail so I could prove to my wife that there was no market or model for this thing. And these people turned up, and I basically like told them all off. It wasn't a training, it was a bollocking. It was like, you're all doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're gonna go to prison, you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose your house, you can lose your money, you lose your family, blah blah blah. And at the end, this guy called Craig said to me, that was great. What now? I'm like, what do you mean, what now? He said, well, you've now told us everything we shouldn't be doing. But now, how do we go and find out how to do it? And I was like, I had no answer at the time. So I had a long pause and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll put on a 3-day course where I'll be able to show you how to do this. And again, I had nothing. And he went, I mean, how much? And I went, grand. And he got his card out and he paid there and then for something that didn't exist. And I'm sat thinking, this can't be right. Anyway, Craig goes away. He's obviously told someone that he's bought this 3-day training from me. And 3 more came up and they bought it too. And then they went away and more people bought. And anyway, I made 12 sales on that day. So I made 12 sales from a bollocking. 12 grand, sorry, from a bollocking. And then I walked away from that, put this amazing course together. All 12 came. And that was the birth of my training business that we see today. So that one event, if you can go before that, I suppose, that conversation on the beach with the wife was the birth of the business. And here we are today. And I should do 7 figures in training this year.
Wow. absolutely incredible. And I can imagine that Vicky's brain is going, what on earth happened to get to that point? So for me, I think there's a lot of crossover with, like when you were saying that you were going out and you were doing this thing with, like when you'd left the forces and then you were going and just trying to get a job and seeing how everything's working and feeling that it's really unprofessional. There's a lot of crossover I find with our industry, in that people are going out, they are not showing up as the most professional version of themselves. We're kind of just winging it at its truest form. And I think we've certainly found lots and lots of different anomalies in our industry, haven't we, where people just are not operating in that space. And similar to you, I think that's exactly where Canine Business Academy has come from as well. So what would you say was the hardest thing for you then in going into that? I kind of actually want to explore going into that self-employed space of, you've always had people around you, whether that was from the forces or whether that was from doing those corporate projects and everything, to then going out by yourself. What would you say the most difficult bits of that for you were?
The transition between corporate and going in my own business.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've never been asked that. So that might require some thought. I'm often asked what was the hardest thing transitioning from soldier to civilian. But I've never been asked that. So as I look at that situation, as I said when I was waxing lyrical there, I'm quite introverted. So like meeting new people has always been difficult for me historically. I'm not too bad now, but like if I went into a pub that I wasn't familiar with, I would always go with my wife first time. And if we were going to go and sit at a table where someone else was sat, my wife would go and make that introduction. I'd just follow, and I would never be the instigator of a conversation. I'm better at it now. So I guess to answer the question would be like meeting lots of people in a new town that I didn't know anybody that weren't from the same ilk as me, because like it or not, soldiers think differently to civilians, and we're always, you know, you. I was 14 years of, dare I say, indoctrinated into this other being, and like that doesn't leave you. So you come into the civilian world, and sometimes I catch myself now, even like I've been out since 2008. I've been out, what? I mean, I can't do the maths. 15 years, is that? It's 17 years. I've been out 17 years. So I've been out longer than I was in. And still sometimes now you find yourself like slipping back into that frame of thinking, and um that it's indoctrination. It is. The way that they shape and mold you into this into this being that you're expected to then fit into society thereafter. So that was I've gone into transition there, still haven't I now, from soldier to civilian. That's not what you asked me. Um,
Yeah, no, it is though, isn't it? I think we get so used to being in the circles that we are in that everything just becomes so, like you say, that indoctrination of, we get used to what we're doing, we show up, we do the same thing all the time. And I know for a lot of people listening, they are going to be thinking, right, okay, so I'm so used to doing this thing. How do I then change my mindset to do something a little bit different? And I'm interested to hear from you as well, so that when you started your training company that you've got now, what are you finding that your clients are struggling with the most in terms of them running their businesses?
oh, what a great question. So what do I find my clients struggle with the most in running their businesses? So I work with two different types of people, two different types of business. One, trades businesses, who I'll touch on first. Trades businesses have got the polar opposite problem to us three sat on here, in that they are not insular, they are not on their own. They're in huge communities on social media community groups. So if you go onto a tradesman's group on, should I say, a tradespersons group on social media. We'll go with Facebook as an example. You go into any trades group and there might be 40,000 members. And ego plays such a big part in the construction industry that all the trades in there have to be right. So it's very strong voices, it's very strong opinions in that, like, if anybody were to challenge that voice, which is beyond the norm, then they'd be shot down and ridiculed by thousands of people.
Oh, that sounds
So
familiar to our industry.
yeah, when we talk about the industry, I actually hate that phrase because the industry doesn't actually exist. That's just a group of businesses, right? Now, if we was just to give you an example, like a customer gets a quote off a builder, and the customer asks the builder to break down the quote. There are the odd business that are more than happy to do that. If they ask in a community group like that whether they should or should not, the majority rhetoric would be never break down a quote for a customer. They're trying to chip your price. And when they share that response and that message and they get hammered, they now think that their initial thought was wrong. And I think that's the biggest challenge with builders is, to answer the question, has got to be like following the ego-driven societal norm in the industry, which needs to change and needs to challenge. Like if I could wave a magic wand across the construction industry, I would change one word that I would change, and that would be transparency. If any builder that issued a quote to a customer were transparent in that process, they would win 10 times more work. But for them to believe that message from me is hard. I have to actually show it them. I have to cold call people in this classroom and show them that it does work and how you can put your price up and command a premium price if you're transparent in doing so. But they don't believe it. They don't believe it until they actually see it. So that's a really slow process. That's the number one challenge for trades businesses, and the number one challenge for property investors that are working on projects is finding a reliable and transparent builder that's going to work with them to their ideals and to their norms to deliver their project within their financial budget. That's the main ones from both.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover there, isn't there?
Yeah. With that first example, with the trades then, that fear you mentioned about they think they're going to get undercut, like not undercut, they're going to be pushed down on price if they are transparent. Where does that fear come from then? Why do they think that? Where's that come from?
Again, from industry rhetoric. Like, because people tell people that that's what they're going to do when that happens, if they do that, they just don't do it. And they base the fear on something that's never actually happened to them.
So it may well have just happened to one person ever.
Correct.
And it's just spread like wildfire across the industry. Yeah, again, lots of parallels with the dog world. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of crossover actually with these industry types. We were talking to Gordon Bircham not too long ago, and martial arts industry as well. All these industries out there, but they're all having the same issues, aren't they? Like, we're breeding toxicity within each of our own industries, and it's something that really needs to stop, because ultimately the end user of any of these products and services, they're the ones that are going to be the ones that are suffering. And certainly in our case, ultimately a good majority of people on our side of it are going, well, I'm in it for the dogs, and we want these dogs to have these amazing lives and keep them out of shelters and rescue centres and everything. Yet we're operating the business side of it so piss poorly that it's just become it's almost perceived by the public as well as like a hobbyist business. And you can see the crossover certainly in construction, where it's like, oh, I don't trust that builder. Like, even I've had loads of building work done on my property. We've renovated an 1850s cottage, and all the thoughts of everyone was like, oh, be careful what builder you get in. And I'm like, what do you mean be careful? Like, so already you feel like you've got to go into battle ready, like just to go and get a quote or something, and then go, oh, it's the same like car sales, isn't it? Like, you feel you've got to go in, and certainly from, maybe I'm taking this a step too far here, but certainly as a woman going into a car dealership, and I used to work in automotive as well, but stepping into that realm, similar to the building aspect, I suppose, for women, you're going, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about this. And then from a dog trainer point of view, I've really taken this down the stereotype woman bit here, but as a woman business owner, then trying to act like a business person sometimes just feels a bit odd for a lot of people as well. So I think it's that thought process that we really have to be mindful. Who are we doing our businesses for? It's the customer at the end of the day. And how can we build that? I love that word, that transparency bit. How can we build that transparency bit? And why is it's such a blocker? And even more so, why is it so difficult to overcome?
Yeah, it's like when something's difficult to overcome, like 99 times out of 100, it's fear driven. Like, so for a builder to break down their price, the industry has shared a common narrative that if they break down a price, a series of events are going to happen, or one of the following events are going to happen. The customer's going to start picking stuff out in order to bring the price down. The customer's going to start chipping at certain elements that they deem to be higher than the other, or the customer's going to get the person that they know in that specific line item task of that breakdown to do that bit themselves. Or lastly, another one that the belief is, if I tell them that the showers are grand, they'll go and try and buy their own shower and try and get it cheaper. Now, all of those things are possible. They're also not possible. So all of those things, like if we break down the quote and the customer starts saying, yeah, I want to do this, take this, and this out, like you can cover that off and you can say, look, this is my quote. This is how transparent I want to be with you. However, caveat to that, this quote's only valid if we do it all. All I'm showing you here is this is how I've arrived at my number. But when you start, if you were to start like changing stuff, it also is going to change the total price. Now, that's the reason that I believe that the trades don't want to do it, because there's this. What they say is bullshit. They say, "Oh, it's too much work." Well, it's not too much work, because for you to provide a breakdown, you must have broke it. For you to have arrived at a figure, you must have broke it up to begin with. So to break it back down is no more work than arriving at an actual price in the first place. Unless what you're saying is you never did actually work it out and you went like that and threw a number at it that you don't know works anyway. So being transparent is actually going to help the trade in understanding how they arrived at that number to make sure they've got enough in it, is the first thing. And like if a client, I do this exercise with the trades on a training. So if you go to a client and the client says, how much is that extension going to be? And the builder just goes, this will probably get reversed. What happened then? It's not that reversed. And you just go, there's my quote, 24 grand. 24 grand to do it, or it's zero to not do it. Like, which one do you want? No client in the history of time has ever made a purchase of 24 grand where they don't know what they get for it. They just haven't. So in order for you to win more work and grow your business, like you've got to be transparent in what that 24K is. And if you was to just shove a 24 grand under someone's nose, I'm just using that number as an example, they'll immediately start recoiling, because what they'll do is they'll go, well, what do I get for that? And then they start questioning themselves with the what if statements, which is a fear-based question. Like, what if they don't do this? And what if this comes up? And what if that's extra? Whereas if your 25 grand now says, actually, it's going to be 28 grand. And for the 28K, you're going to get all the digger and dumper hire. You're going to get all the excavation. You're going to get all the concrete poured, all the muck away, all the waste, all the skips. And then we're going to get building control to come in and sign it off, etc. I don't want to go into the whole build process because I'll be here all day. But if we then like broke it down into that level, we've now got something that we can assign value to this money. It's now just not a number on a piece of paper that has no meaning, that just creates fear-driven questions that they won't externalize because they don't have the lingo and skills to be able to converse with a builder. And then like we can immediately increase our fees in premium if we show what it's for. Yeah, like let me give you an example in your world that I'll just make up. because I don't know how much dog training is. So, like, for me to train your dog, it's 5K. Like, I'm going to go, in my head, I'm going to go yes or no based on, like, well, what does that, like, based on my knowledge of the industry, which is 0. But if you said to me, it's going to be 7.5K, and what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to stop your dog from barking. I'm going to stop, these are all things that my dog does that pisses me off. I'm going to stop it barking when the postman comes. I'm going to stop him jumping up at strangers when we go out for a walk. I'm going to stop him pulling. I'm going to stop him slavering. I'm going to stop him making a noise when he eats. I'm going to stop him snoring. And now I'm just making this up, of course. And now I can now assign results to the price inside of an industry and a job that I know nothing about.
Yeah. And that just shows the importance of how a service is or an experience is presented to the client as well, isn't it? Because by being transparent with that quote, you can absolutely say, you can go and sort that out yourself if you really want to. However, there's probably going to be a load of extra work for you to do that. And it would probably be easier in a way for someone to just sort that for you. So you again are, although you're breaking it down into products, you know, some of it is going to be an actual product. Some of it's going to be the service around that product to do the work. It's all about, like, we're going to take you from where you are now to where you want to be. And that outcome is we want a nice extension that's going to add value to the house and it's going to give us more space and all that stuff. So I totally get that.
Somewhere to put the slobbery big dog.
Somewhere to put the dog with all the snoring and the noisy eating and all that sort of stuff. But it's exactly the same. It's the way it's positioned. It's like, this is the outcome that we can provide for you. But I can totally see that transparency is going to fill me with more confidence than being hidden behind a number that you don't know. And therefore, that perception of dodgy builders is absolutely going to be valid, isn't it? So it totally makes sense to me. You explaining it like that, I'm like, I get that. Totally get it.
Yeah. Another good example is an actual example. So one of my one-to-one clients, he cleans lakes. That's his business. Now, he was working for a hotel down in South Wales and they asked him to clean their lake. And we had a one-to-one session similar to this. And it was like, and the word he used was justify. How do I justify my price? And his price was 75,000 quid to clean a lake. Now, I'm sat on this call with him like, you can't justify that, mate. That's fucking outrageous. 75 grand to clean water. So, like, tell me what's involved. And he went through this entire process of fencing off the whole thing, like plans he had to submit to the local authority, environment agency, like what he had to do. He had to get 4 men in these like wetsuits to go in and dredge the bottom of the lake and scrape and protect this species and all this other stuff. Then it was skips and how much waste it was going to produce and blah. And then by the time he'd finished, I was like, 75 grand, is that all you're charging? Purely because he'd not like mapped that out. I know nothing about cleaning lakes. I don't know what's involved. But when we say clean a lake, that's 3 words. I'm not being funny, but I'm not paying 75 grand for 3 words. Like, you need to put some effort in, mate. So he broke this whole thing down and we got to the bottom and I said, mate, why ain't that 90? It was my feedback. Mate, I can't ask for 90. I said, but based on what you've told me, that's 90 grand's worth of work. Anyway, he put in a quote of 95, and because it was a corporate, he expected him to chip him. And he won the job.
Wow.
Just from being transparent. That's all that is. That's the only thing that changed. All of the stuff he was going to do already existed, but he kept it secret in here. Owing to a fear of, they'll do that bit themselves, or they'll put their own fence up, or they'll do whatever themselves. They had no intention of doing any of that.
Oh, do you know what I love most about what you said there? Was that I'm not going to pay that much for 3 words.
Yeah.
And actually, so dog trainers have this really common thing, which I definitely used to do this. I would go, right, so you get those emails, don't you? Go like, how much is it going to be? Like, just give me a quote. I'm like, right, hold on. I need to understand a little bit more here. Except we don't do I need to understand more here. We just go, you can buy 3 hours from me at, I don't know, 50 quid an hour, or you can buy 5 hours at 300 quid, so you make a saving, or like 200 quid, whatever it is. That's it. And then you kind of going, why is nobody buying it? But yes, like, I'm not going to pay that for 3 words. I love it.
That's good.
Yeah, but no, I mean, the reason no one's buying that is no one ever woke up this morning and said, I want to buy 3 hours off Joe.
Yeah.
They wake up this morning and they want to buy a result off Joe. They want a dog that's going to stop drooling. Like, they don't care how long that takes. They want the result, not your time. And I have this with the trades as well. You know, wow, you know, they'll go in and go, you can have me for a day or you can have me for a week and it's going to be 200 a day. Nobody ever woke up this morning and said, I need a kitchen fitter for a week. They didn't. They said, I want my kitchen fitting. That's a very different thing that you're selling now. We're not selling time. We're going to sell the result that the time gets you.
Oh, it's such a hard thing for people to wrap their head around, isn't it? Like that buying the result.
No one talks about buying the result in this industry.
Yeah, see, I don't think this is a consumer problem. I think it's a service provider problem. This is a seller problem. Because I truly believe it's never the consumer's job to work out what they're buying.
No, but we easily blame the consumer. It's their fault.
Yeah, of course we do.
They're not buying it. Fault, right? Yeah. Why don't they see the value in it? Why aren't they dedicated to their dog? Why aren't they dedicated to their house? Like, it's all the same stuff, isn't it? Why are we blaming them when it's our fault? And
solicitors are the only people that can get away with saying, "I'm this much an hour."
Yeah.
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 It is true.
It's the only industry that we value over time.
Yeah. Everyone gets so hung up on time, though. And even just thinking of the parallels again between construction and dog training, because on the surface, people might be thinking like, what the fuck? How are you talking about construction on a dog training podcast?
We love this because we have such varied industry, you know, people like yourself coming on and like Gordon with the martial arts. And I think people see those podcast episodes and be like, what? Why would I listen? But then because they are, I mean, I'm going to say it, they're dedicated to our podcast. They trust us now. We're not going to have somebody on that hasn't got any value to bring. So it's good.
Yeah,
These conversations are really
but no,
good.
the parallels for me, like with that time bit is going, okay, I'm putting myself into a consumer shoe now of when I have had builders out when we were doing the renovation. And I hear this a lot from people in general anyway, whether it's Facebook moaning or people that, you know, and like, right, so-and-so have said that they're going to come, they're either going to do the landscaping or they're going to do this build project or whatever it is. They're going to come and train the dog. And the project goes on longer than you would anticipate because, lo and behold, maybe some problems arise. And then maybe you have got, as that business owner, you've booked additional work in on top. So now you're trying to flip between 2 jobs or 2 clients and all of this. And then the consumer is going, well, hold on. You haven't finished my kitchen yet, and now you're hopping off to go and do Billy Bob down the road.
That's
like
quite common, isn't it? You hear about a lot of people saying that.
What's going on there? And then, so you can almost see like the story that we're telling ourselves, and again, like putting it in that dog trader mindset of, well, if you've bought 3 hours from me and the dog's not fixed in 3 hours, oh shit, I now need to give you all this extra time to get the dog to where I said it was going to be. But hold on, maybe we didn't have the conversation up front on what those expectations were. Like, how are you going to manage your time around it? And for me, that was just a really interesting parallel that my brain took me down of thinking of that time.
Yes, setting and managing customer expectation is like, that's the number one skill every business owner's got to have. Setting it to begin with and then managing it throughout.
Yeah, it's something we're not taught though, is it? Like no one teaches you how to run a fucking business anyway, but
No.
We are trying. But yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because I was actually having a conversation with one of our clients the other week, and they were really surprised that on some of our dog training sessions that we do with clients, we literally end up sitting and having a Starbucks, and sometimes the dog's not even there, and they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, because actually at that moment in time, the person needed us more than the dog." And we're always saying that actually we're in the people business, we're not in the dog business, because the dog doesn't get to decide who gets to work with them. It's the person. You've got to go through them. But yeah, it's that thought process of, are we thinking about what that person needs and how are we managing that expectation? Because obviously I'm not going to go out and sell, oh, do you want to buy an hour with me and we'll just go and sit in Starbucks and have a nice little chat. We don't worry about bringing the dog. But because it's part of this bigger program, we're working together over a longer period of time, you get to know one another, and that's how it's positioned up front. The expectation's there. So actually you can, I was going to say get away with it. It's not about getting away with, but you can do those type of sessions with someone where actually they're okay with that because the expectation was set from the start.
And actually, those sessions are as valuable, if not more valuable, than the actual practical stuff, because the emotional burden that these dogs put on people it needs to come out somewhere. So we are a bit like therapists in hearing, oh, I haven't done this, or this has been a challenge, and they need to get that out. And I think as dog professionals, we should actually understand that people do need to get this, emotion out of them. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Sat in Starbucks, having a coffee. Well, great.
I feel like actually, even in the construction industry, because I know I've certainly chewed my builder's ear off before, because they're in your house day in, day out. You get to know them.
You get a good relationship with them, actually.
You know their tea and coffee orders. You've got them there. You've got them ready. And then my dad, bless him, he's always looking after tradespeople. He even gives the postie a Kit Kat and a takeout.
I'm going to say kiss there. Oh my God.
No, he gives the postie a Kit Kat and a little takeout iced coffee thing every time. I'm like, wow,
that's
okay,
nice. Value the posting.
But no, so I imagine, I don't actually know if this happens. I mean, I only know it from my experience that you end up getting really chatty with the people because they're there. But does that ever get factored into, I don't know, the delivery experience for the customer? Or is it very much, if I'm doing a comparison to dog training, are your guys going, I'm just thinking about the build project, the person just happens to be the facilitator, if you will, a bit like dog training. Like a lot of us will go in going, I'm working with the dog, I'm not with the person. I've just got to jump through the person to get to the thing that is my skill set.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very, very detailed and deep question. We could go down the road of profiling and profiling of the customer, profiling of the builder. We can go down the road of what's the strategy of the property. Is it residential? Is it domestic? Is it commercial? There's so many different avenues to go down with that question. For me, when I was a builder, I'm a very red profile. If you're into disc profiling, dominant profile, I just want the job done. I just want the result. So customers actually speaking to me when I was on the tools used to piss me off. You're in my way. You're now affecting my delivery. You're now affecting my business, my profit, my income, my everything. That's all that's going off in my head. I'm just thinking, shut the fuck up. I don't want your cup of tea. I'm here fucking to plaster and build walls. That's it. There are other profiles. You've got your green profiles, which is more friendly and more amiable profile. They'll stand and chat and wax lyrical all day long. It also depends on how the job's been priced. If it's been priced on are you just paying me for the day? And if you pay me on time rather than results, so i.e. you're paying me 200 quid, 300 quid a day, whatever that might be, for as many days as it takes me to be there, I'll stand and talk to you all day long. So it depends on so many different things that, I don't generally work in the domestic space anymore. It's generally speaking, it's in a property space. So properties are generally empty. But aside from customer and builder, we've got main contractor and subcontractor. So me having trades in working on my behalf, that dynamic, that relationship, again, is still buyer and seller, I guess, is that can different profiles again. are gonna come into play as to whether this guy wants to just get on, whether he wants to converse with me or not. And again, there's going to be personality. There's so many different things we can talk about with that question that there is no answer to that.
Yeah, it's I like that answer though, because it just goes to show how difficult and how complex just working with somebody else is.
Yeah.
So many different layers to everything. And Vicky and I, Vicky had never heard of disc profiling until last year, and we've done a little bit of work around it. So I'm very much a D profile. Vicky's an S. So you can imagine us working together as actual business partners. We're fuck it out,
frustrate the hell of it out of each other. But also work really well together in lots of other ways, because, you do the things that require the push-in. I'll do the things that require a bit more thought and a bit more, let's get everything sorted in our heads first and slow down a little bit. So it does work really well. And I love this personality profiling now. I think everybody should know about it and everybody should consider it when they're working with their clients, because we understood them more, we'd have a much better outcome.
Yeah.
And that expectation piece we were just talking about.
It's that awareness bit of yourself though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going hold on. Because since I've become acutely aware of it, I'm okay. And I'm fortunate enough to have Vic as my partner in this. I can go, do you know what? I think you're probably better suited to this person than me. I can do it, but that's fucking hard work for me to slow down that much. I can't do it. It's like, I really struggle. And then vice versa. She's like, no, that person needs stuff now. I can't do it. So can you lean into it? And just being aware of how you're speaking to people and bringing those clients on board as well. Like all that stuff that we all say, it doesn't matter what profession you're in, you will get pissed off with your clients and it always becomes somebody else's fault. And actually, I think we all need to get better at taking that harder look at ourselves and going, actually, I think we're the problem and we are also the solution, because we can be always the solution by being aware of it and going, actually, hold on, you do need to work a little bit differently. So maybe we provide, I don't know, again, I'm trying to think of construction. Some people will be quite happy to receive a quote. Like I know, again, for me, D-profile, if I'm asking somebody to come out and quote, I'm like, just give me a ballpark. I don't care about the detail just yet. I just need to know. So I'm like, okay, if it's going to be 24K, then was that what I was expecting? Don't really know. How do I feel about that number? Not really asked. Can I afford it? Yep. Okay, fine. I'm in. Now send me the detail. And then other people are like, I have no idea what that means at all. Like, show me the nitty gritty. But having both options available, or at least them being able to go, yep, look, I can give you this ballpark, but here's the detail, and having both ready, not only ever having the one style that suits you. So no, I like that thought process of actually, it's a really difficult question to answer.
Like this profiling, I could talk about profiling for hours. 4 great books that you can read on it, all by Thomas Erickson. If you've not read that series, they are all brilliant. Surrounded by idiots, surrounded by bad bosses, surrounded by narcissists, and surrounded by psychopaths. It's fantastic. They're all fantastic, all of them. They're all about profiling. And if you go onto your own website, you'll actually see your own profile on your website. Somebody called me out on it about 18 months ago. So because I'm a red, my website for, let's say, for a networking event, 20 quid ticket, you go onto the webpage and right at the top, Buy Now button. That satisfies a red profile only. Like any blues that go onto that page, they're going to go, 20 quid. Oh, fucking hell, what do I get for that? And they'll start scrolling and they can't find any information because of my own profile. You see it on webinar landing pages as well. Like, can spot a red profiled webinar page a mile off. Sign up now. And that's it. Nothing else. Like, you've got to appease to as many profiles as what you possibly can on these. I'm just talking websites and landing pages now. Like, have a look at your own page. And if you wrote yours, Joe, it's probably what I'm describing. But look now. Book a call now with like no data. But for a green profile, I think you said you were, Vicky, that like you'll see kind of a wishy-washy flow to it if you was to write it.
Vicky
I did write it.
It stresses me out.
Go and have a look at it then, please. Tell me what you think.
If you wrote it, I'll bet you any money it's kind of like, yeah, we are the Let's Talk Dog business, and we train dogs and blah, 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 and then there'll be a soft call to action somewhere about in the middle. Then there'll be some more information down below, then some testimonials.
Actually, I think you'll find it's a bit of a mix of the two.
Yeah. Well, that's what greens are, right? It's steadiness. It's like, we don't want to pull the trigger. We don't want to upset anybody. We don't want to like call anyone out. We'll just be like fluffy and safe.
Yeah, that's me.
Which is fine.
My dog training website.
Which is fine.
Yeah, my dog training website was very much right, because my thought process was, you've Googled dog training in Solihull, you've landed on my website, and the button immediately was speak to a human now. And I was like, that's all I did. I was like, there's no information. Like, call me and we'll talk about it. And that was my process.
A blue profile is never going to do that.
Nope.
They will never do that.
Nope. But at that time, I was like, I don't really want to work with blues. They annoy me.
Yeah.
I'm targeting the reds. Come on.
Where are you? Now, different business model and all that. But no, it's really fascinating, isn't it?
And actually, talking about personality, I can't get my words out. Personality profiling with regards to, say, like dog training clients, blaming other dog owners for their failings with their dog as well. That's a really common thing, isn't it? It's like it's taking it away from my responsibility. That person with their off-lead dog who allows their dog to come up to mine, okay, you are limited on what you can do to a point. You can only fend a dog off if you've got a, say, reactive dog. or something like that. But it's like, it's their fault. They're the ones that aren't doing the thing. And I'm like, can only do what I can do. And it's very like outwardly projected, I think, isn't it, with some owners? And I don't know, do you get that in your industry as well? Do you get the blame shifting not only from them, it's someone else and someone else and someone else, and it keeps doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you see this in human beings all the time. Like, no one wants to take personal responsibility for fucking anything, do they, these days? Like, I'll tell you a funny story. My PA was parking a company car the other day, and she hit another van. And she came upstairs. The van was parked in a bay, and as she was reversing into the bay, she hit the van. And she came upstairs and blamed the parked van. I was like, how is that the fucking van's fault? Well, he was poking out. But you hit it, whether he's poking out or not, you still hit it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great example of that.
People are funny. People are funny.
Oh dear. I want to circle back actually to that period of time when you said you were like really heavily drinking and all of that. And yes, that was coming from, like the forces and that mentality and stuff that we were in. But was that drinking to, what was the purpose of the drinking? Was it something to do with actually, I'm struggling with this civvy life bit now? Was it a coping strategy, or was it just a habit that kind of formed?
Great question. I don't think anybody can ever answer that, especially after the fact. Like, if you asked me at the time, I'm going to tell you there's no problem. But asking me now, I guess I'd have to try and search for an answer. And that, I think that there is a belief, or at least a perception, that booze solves all the problems. Like, you have a stressful day, what do? We have a drink to relax. But the drink doesn't fucking relax you at all. We have this societal belief that it does, because everyone says it. Like, I have a client that he drinks every single day. Granted, he has 2 or 3 bottles of light beer, but the phrase he uses is, the only reason I have beer is to blow the cobwebs off at the end of a shift. Now, you tell yourself that story every single day, you're suggesting to yourself that you have cobwebs that need to be blown off.
Yeah.
And for him right now, beer is the solution to the bullshit story he's created, that cobwebs exist that need to be blown off, because there are no physical cobwebs there. It's a story he's created around a feeling that he has at the end of a shift.
Yeah.
So we've got something's going off at the end of a shift that we're going to stick a label of, that's what a cobweb is. And in order for this cobweb to go that does not feel good, I'm going to have a beer and it'll solve that problem. And if that story is true in his own brain, he's going to keep doing it. Now, so first and foremost, we've got to identify, what is this cobweb that we're calling a cobweb, and what else can I do to get rid of that cobweb other than drink beer? And for me, I used to say, booze calms me down, booze relaxes me. It didn't. It made me drunk and made me fall asleep and get fat. That's the facts. But when we tell ourselves a story of, this crutch solves this problem, I do it now. Even now, we tell a story for every habit. We have a story that's wrapped around the habit. So now my habit's coffee. I cannot, and I'm saying this now as a story, and it's fucking not true, I cannot leave the house without a coffee.
Yeah. Mine's like, I need to have a cup of tea every morning to start the day. Like, I need
Yeah,
it.
but it's not true, is it? What would happen if there were no tea bags in the house?
Exactly.
Nothing would happen. We'd go about our day, wouldn't we? And we'd buy someone tomorrow. But we've just proved the fact that we can actually do the thing we said we can't do. Like, the stories we tell ourselves are so fucking powerful. It's crazy.
To say, how strong are they? Because they literally rule. I think they rule a lot of people's lives, don't they? Even the teabag story can rule someone's life.
Yeah.
Your day is like catastrophe because you haven't got
Okay, here's a question for us all then. And I don't know if we've got the answer. What are our opinions then, as a collective bunch of crazy motherfuckers that have started our own businesses? Do we think that entrepreneurs tell more stories to themselves than an air quote normal person?
Oh, silence.
I would say that as business owners, and I'm going to caveat that with business owners that have been developed. like from a personal perspective. So they're into personal development, shall we say. I think we do all tell our stories, but I think we are all aware enough to know that we've told ourselves a story, and therefore we can respond to said story in a more neutral way. For a person that's not an entrepreneur and or business owner or undeveloped personally, those stories will rule their life. Yeah, in a negative way as well. My mum's fucking terrible for it. She is terrible. My mum. I'm a dad, actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I think
always
we
saying
can
that,
all
where it's
relate
like-
to that with parents.
there's so many people in your lives, aren't you, that tell you these stories, that tell you can't do something or you're crazy. Like even as of last year, like my parents were still saying to me, "Oh, are you sure you don't want to go back to your employed job that I'd left about 7 years ago, and I've made a lot more since then. I've got a lot more freedom in my life and I'm happy. Like, are you sure you don't want to go back? Because at least you wouldn't have any like money problems." It's like, I haven't got money problems now as such. Like, yes, okay, I've got debt, but that's like personal development debt. It's house renovation debt. It's good debt in my eyes. Like, it's fine. I'm paying it off. It's not sat there causing me too much pain. I'm like, but that mentality of like, oh, but you had a salary, you could pay that. I'm like, well,
The safety. It's all about the safety, isn't it?
but yeah, it is these stories that we tell ourselves.
Even that alone, Vicky, that statement of being in a job and it being safe, like I don't think there's anything further from the truth. But yeah, that's another story that employees tell themselves. I used to tell myself that. I'm gonna, I like to know that I've got a safe and secure job, and I like to know that I'm going to get my wage at the end of the month. Like, there is no one more committed to paying me at the end of the month than me. So, like, self-employed is a no-brainer. Like, I'm relying on someone that's likely been and done some university degree, running a company that I work for, to make the right decisions for the direction of the business in order to keep me employed. I don't think there's anything more risky than that. It's not actually in my control whatsoever. We believe that it is, and it's not at all.
But do you know what it does do is it shifts the blame to somebody else if it isn't as secure.
Yeah.
We don't have to reap the consequences then, do we? Well, we do, but not in a personal way, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's partly to do with that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge amount. But I actually really liked how you identified that these, how did you phrase it? Like these underdeveloped people, not underdeveloped.
Maybe in some cases.
But it's the stuff that we're always banging on about all the time, isn't it? To go, you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest in a group of people that are going to actually, I'm going to say push you, but with that support, because they want to see you succeed. They don't want to hear the stories that we're telling ourselves that hold you back and go, well, can you identify that it is a story? And I think, Vicky and I are talking about it all the time, but since you love personal development world now.
I was such an undeveloped person a few years ago. I look back at that version of myself now and go, oh my God.
I've got visions of you being like hung up, like in a camera room, like a red room where they develop the pictures.
On a peg?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a weird image. Now I can't unsee that. Yeah, that was me. That was me, undeveloped person. And I always look at it like you're limiting those possibilities if you don't work on that personal development piece. Because look at all the things that I've enabled myself to do now, still working on a lot of stuff, working through a lot of stuff, but so many things that I would never have done. So many out of my comfort zone things that I've pushed myself to do because I've talked to myself so much more and gone what is the worst that could happen if I do that thing and I look like an arse? So what? It's going to be funny probably more than anything else. And next time I'll know how that feels and it won't be as scary if it goes wrong. It's all of those kind of things. And then all the stories that you let we were talking about earlier, you let yourself be eaten away by those stories. And when you just shed them and go I don't actually care what someone thinks, I do and I don't, I can learn to know which bits I need to care about now and which bits that I don't need to worry about so much. So yeah, still a journey, still lots to do, but I am a very different person now.
Developing.
A developing person in a dark room.
we all are. You know, there's no one and done.
No, it's never done. It's never
There's no
done.
course or book you read and that's it. You're developed. It's, you know, we're always improving, always working on ourselves and always learning. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Come into the cult, everyone. Come in.
It does feel like a cult, doesn't it? It's a bit weird. It's like, you know, that other world that we step into. It's like,
join the
what's all that?
weirdos.
Yeah, it is about joining the weirdos. Okay, so what would you say then to people out there who are in the throes of their own business? They are struggling, they don't know which way to turn, they don't identify as a business owner, and they go like, I just can't do that stuff, like all the story.
Listening to all the noise and being dictated to by the noise.
Yeah. What would you say to those people that are listening?
So those people listening, saying that story, 100% don't have a network or a peer group, or they wouldn't say it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, get into networking community groups, positive peer groups, and I'd recommend in person as opposed to online. Around you of the same industry, like there will be a dog business network, I'm sure, where you all meet up, and I'm sure there's one somewhere. And if there isn't, then if you're not getting invited or you can't go to a table, then build your own fucking table. That's what I've always said. So for me, I go to a property networking event at least twice a month. I run my own events, and like getting around. The best days I have in business are when I'm around my peers, like always, because the ideas start and you know, stuff starts to flow. And I love being in a room of people massively ahead of me, and I also love being in a room of people that are massively behind me in terms of thinking now, because I love to bring them on. So just yesterday, I've been invited onto a board of directors for a charity to build a school in Tanzania. And the guy came and he pitched me this opportunity and said, he came all the way over here to my office and he put himself on the telly, and I sat there like a fucking king. And he was sat there in my big leather chair. And he went through all this stuff. And I said, right, it's great. I'm in. Like, how much money do you need? And he went, 15 grand in the first year. And I looked at him and it was like, this is why I share this. Like when I think a bit about being around people that aren't as progressed as what you are. And he said, I need 15K. I went, why is that not 150K? And he went, what? I said, well, why are you only asking for 15 grand? Like, I'm not telling you to pitch me for more money. I'm just trying to understand your thinking. And he went, well, no one's going to put 150K in this. I went, well, how do you know that to be true?
Wow.
And he was like, I could see him, he went silent for ages. And then he actually said to me, like, this is why I want you on board, because you think bigger.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Oh, that actually gave me like goosebumps. I was like, you have got to think bigger, haven't you? You have got to think.
Yeah.
We're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? And we've got such a poor mindset, and quite literally poor, even on that money mindset. It's like, no one's going to give me that money. No one's going to pay for that. I'm not worthy of that investment that we're doing. Another story.
Yeah, totally. Have you read Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan?
Yes.
It's an amazing book.
It's
and
amazing
that
book.
describes every British person on the planet. Americans aren't like that. We Brits are. We're fucking terrible for it. Like, it's not in the American culture to look at the things that could possibly go wrong. You know, they're all very gung-ho and very like action-driven and very sort of, yeah, let's do it now. That was my best accent. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Like Brits don't do that. Brits go, well, what if this? What if that? It's just it's our culture. So,
We love being a martyr as well, don't we?
Yeah. It's
love
like our conversation the other day, wasn't it? So I had a car crash last year. An Arctic truck went into the back of me and wrote my car off. And Vicky, bless her, gave me a pub car. So I've been driving around a little Mini with
pub car
with two kids and two dogs. And a
He's now got a really good idea of me.
Anyway, found a car over Christmas. Like, my mum and dad's health is massively deteriorating. So we thought, you know what, let's be sensible. Let's get a 7-seater. And we were going to use the money that we'd got from the car being written off. And we was looking at the Land Rover Discoveries. And of course, everyone's shitty mindset about that car came flooding in. Vicky's husband included, and yes, Gareth, you may be listening. Like, it's because he's a mechanic. It's like, oh God, like they're the worst cars to get, like always breaking down, all this stuff, rah, rah, rah. I love your face on this.
He's thinking the same.
And I'm sitting there going, oh, like I'm listening to all this stuff. And I was like, do you know what? It's going to do us. What's the worst that's going to happen? Okay, if it breaks down and it ends up costing a fortune, so what? I need to go and earn some more money. But is it going to do a job? Let's go and have a look at some decent ones and let's just see what's what. If I can do what I can do. And I remember, like, again, the D-profile bit, I wanted to jump in and just be like, ugh, but I've been learning to soften and kind of step back a bit. And then I was like, no, we've just got to I've got to stop listening to everybody else, because if I logically look at it, how many of those cars are on the road? Like, it's a decent brand, it's a decent car. I know loads of people that have got them. And as soon as I started texting some other people, I got a different response, and they were like, oh yeah, we've had one of those for years, they're fucking brilliant. I was like, oh look, like a sign of validation in the world amongst all the shit that everyone else is
sign
going.
Sign of validation
Don't
that was never required.
Yes, exactly that. But you do, don't you, like what everyone always thinks, and they put their shitty projections on you. They put those projections, they go, no, you don't do it because it's shit. Don't do it. No one's going to do that. It's going to break down. It's going to do all this stuff.
Yeah. A great response when you want to be an arsehole is, when you have them days. When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
I like it.
As a small caveat, Gareth did say, go and get that problem sorted while it's still under warranty.
Oh, it's fine.
Has got a problem, by the way.
It hasn't. A light showed up one time and it's never showed up again. It's fine.
But it's under warranty. Get it sorted.
Yeah, my brother's a car dealer, so whenever I mention a new car, no matter what car I say, he'll find the reason why I shouldn't buy that car, no matter what car it is.
Well, we do that with dog breeds. No, don't get that one. Don't get that.
Yeah, dog breeds is another good one. Yeah, you shouldn't get one of them. They eat a lot.
Yeah.
Tell Vicky what dog you've got.
Yeah, we've got St. Bernard, yeah.
Oh my God, I bet your house is just wet all the time, isn't it? Isn't there just slobber everywhere?
No, I could take that a different way.
Now I
Now
I completely understand what you were talking about. Stop my dog slobbering, because I was earlier on when you said that, I was like, God, that's a bit harsh. Now I'm totally, yeah, you can't. I'm afraid.
Oh, easy. I have got terrible misophonia. If you don't know what that is an aversion to eating noises.
My brother-in-law's got this. It's a weird
awful
thing. Yeah. It's like you with your buttons.
It's an actual thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I've got a weird button phobia.
As you can imagine.
I once had a St. Bernard in class and I had to mop the walls where they were sat. Honest to God, like the area was just soaking wet everywhere.
Like Beethoven.
And I was literally, I cannot do slobber. That is one thing. I don't mind feces, urine, like I don't mind any excrement coming out of a dog in any way, shape or form, apart from a slobber. I cannot deal with it. I can't. If I get a little bit of that slobber on my clothes or something, I hate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone
gross.
that's got a slobbery
It is
dog.
gross. My wife asked, she's mopped the ceiling before.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there you go.
And he shakes his face and it just...
Yeah, everywhere. I can imagine. Oh God, no.
Absolutely grim.
No. Can't deal with it.
Oh.
Anyway, maybe that's a good place to end.
I know, yeah.
the
So I'll
episode.
wrap it up, because I'd quite happily chat to you all day, Paul. I love you. I think you're amazing. And I think you are doing incredible things for your industry. So keep shining that light and doing amazing things. And keep us posted
Well,
about
thank
that school. That sounds super interesting.
In Tanzania?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not over the line yet. But it will be soon. It will be, yeah. It's going to be great.
Okay, so if people want to know more about you and what you do for the construction industry, how do they do that?
So Facebook's probably the place I gob off the most. So if you just go into Facebook, put my name in, and I'll come up, I'm sure. But I'm on all the usual channels: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all the rest of them.
All the stuff.
If you comment on something on Facebook, it is actually me. Everybody else, all the others, somebody else is doing that.
Yeah, no, you can definitely tell it's Paul on Facebook.
Oh,
It's
right.
hilarious. I love your Facebook. It cracks me up. It really does crack me up.
And then we've got one last question for you. And as I've said before, we have a varied array of guests, so it doesn't have to be dog specific. Who else do you know that you think would be a good guest on our podcast?
Ooh. Do you know what's weird? when you said to me that I was a bit of a out there decision for you to make to have on the podcast. So I did the exact same thing. And I think she'd be great on there as well, on with you guys.
The cookie people.
Yeah.
Love it.
Who's this?
I was listening to that episode yesterday.
Yeah, so her name's Tony Robinson, and she's a local. She bakes cookies and sells them online, and she started from a. I don't want to ruin the story. Listen to the podcast episode.
Paul's got a podcast, Real Talk.
Yeah, she's brilliant, absolute superstar. And when she comes to see you as well, she brings cookies, and they're amazing. So just for that,
she has to come to the studio. So what's her the name of the business?
The Cookie People.
She's on Instagram.
Oh, the Cookie People.
Cookie People. Oh, I think it is or something like that. If you type in Cookie People into Google, Scunthorpe, she'll come up, I'm sure.
I mean,
cool.
It's a good episode. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good shout. That is. I like that.
Yeah, she's brilliant, and my wife would do it as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she'd be good.
Yeah, she's awesome as well.
Oh, cool.
The Tinkers. You could both come up. Oh,
a double whammy, a 2-2.
Yeah.
2 + 2 episode. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's only just started on social media. She hadn't had a social media profile, but she did a talk for me at my conference back end of last year, and it massively elevated her profile and confidence. So, and ever since she's started her first social media profile. She started on TikTok of all places, where you get all the trolling. But in order to grow her following first, she's done a dog thing. So she first started with just posting little reels of the dog, of the St. Bernard. And then she did a 3-part series skit of my accent. And then she's gone back to the dog thing now. She's getting some shit for it. But yeah, she'd be good. She'd be good.
I mean, awesome. Yeah. We'll get it sorted. Oh, well, thanks for joining us, Paul. Absolutely love that.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Great to meet you.
Yeah, and you.
Until next time.